Hello and welcome to the Easily Excitable podcast. My name is Tom and with me this week is Russell. Hey man, how's it going?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yourself, good sir?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. It's been a very exciting and busy time for me, and there's been lots of content and things and games and stuff, so yeah, there's lots going on.
And also you've managed to sample the British take on Thanksgiving.
I know, right? Yeah.
How does it feel? Is it your first in the United States?
It is my first Thanksgiving in the States, which is real interesting. I don't know, it just seemed like a big celebratory day. It's kind of made me think of like I'm not one for celebrating things to do with England that much. So being roped into celebrating American things, I was here for July 4th as well. So July 4th and Thanksgiving are very American holidays. And the whole thing, like the Thanksgiving Day parade and then the July 4th concerts, they all seem a bit over the top to me and I don't seem to enjoy them. So it's one of those things where I'm just like, oh, I don't know whether they're actually things I want to do. So yeah, I was very interested. There was a lot of food, which was awesome. I like food, perhaps too much at the moment, because now I'm in the stage where I'm just like, oh, I need to make myself a little bit hungry so that I'm not feeling as fat as I can be. So yeah, I've been particularly, I don't know, guilty of being like, oh yeah, there's things around, I will eat them, rather than being like, no, I'll only eat at meal times and do sufficient exercise. So I'm just trying to pick back up doing the exercise things. Anyway, Thanksgiving, interesting, but yeah, very American. So yeah, that's where I'll put that.
So apart from that, good sir, what have you been watching?
So, oh my, I've watched a million things. The big thing that I've thoroughly enjoyed watching has been Stranger Things. I've watched both seasons 1 and 2, like, I don't know, I finished watching them a week and a half ago, so I watched them the 2 weeks before that, so they're somewhat still fresh in my mind. And then I started watching Beyond Stranger Things as well, just to get everyone's take on it. And Jim Rash hosts that, who also was the dean in Community, so immediately seeing that, I took a picture of Jim Rash and sent it to Rachel saying, oh my god, Beyond Stranger Deans, because he names everything the dean in Community. So I was like, brilliant joke. Anyway, yeah, Stranger Things is like, I don't know, it's focused on a town called Hawkins, Indiana, in the United States, I think. And it's I don't know. Would you say it's a creepy show? We've said about this before. So
yeah, I think it sits in the fantasy realm for me. Like that sort of, I think it's very similar to something like a good fashion Hans Christian Andersen like children's tale, where like the monster is never really seen until until a lot of moments. There's a lot of like building up of suspension and building up of tenseness and kind of playing off that, which is done like really well. I wouldn't really say I don't think it's a horror. I don't really think it's a thriller either. I don't think it kind of gets to those. That's not its general dynamic or genre, although it does have that elements of those genres in it at moments.
Mm-hmm.
I still kind of think it in kind of like this like fantasy-ish sort of world.
Yeah, it's very, I don't know, I find it quite fantasy based as well. Because they're like playing early Dungeons and Dragons as well, they have like they draw a lot of not necessarily, I know they do draw a lot of parallels with like the Upside Down, which in the first episode of Beyond Stranger Things they actually say was originally called the Nether, but they never like expressly said it until they were like, oh no, we're going to call it the Upside Down because that's what it is. I don't think it has like they give it an official name other than the Upside Down, because
Yeah, I don't think because then
It's
nobody
never.
from that side can actually communicate to the point of telling you what it's actually called, or so.
Yeah.
But no, it's a very interesting TV series. It's when the first season came out last year, I watched it all like fairly quickly. It was only like 8 episodes, so it's a fairly quick
Hmm.
one to kind of get through.
Yeah.
And to be honest, after the first episode, I was like going, this could be good, this could be bad. It's really dependent on how well the kids act, and the
Yes.
kids are fantastic. Like,
Yeah. The kids are incredible.
and this just I think this shows to me something that I've noticed more and more in the last maybe 5 years compared to 10, 15, 20 years ago. Kids acting used to be fucking horrific. Like,
Yeah.
kids
It's
could
terrible.
ruin movies, and having like a kid having a major kind of aspect of a movie could destroy a film. It could just be like, everything is totally and utterly believable, but I don't believe the child or the kid that's in this situation because they're just not acting appropriately, or they're not acting the way that a kid should. I think the scripting and the writing has got better in that regard, as well as actually having kids behave the way that kids would, and not just kind of how they've set up so it would derive plot. But I was watching with a couple of friends. We watched the first like 20 minutes of the first Harry Potter movie, and we had to stop because it's so shit. It's like, it's horrendous. It's like looking at the screens, like the number of like camera looks, the number of kind of, I think, looking into a book to find where the lines are because they kept on forgetting them, and it's really bad once you start to notice it. And I think once you notice it, you're then out. You're kind of like, your disbelief is broken. You're seeing errors, so you're spotting more and more errors, and you just can't continue. I think the thing that Stranger Things does really well for me is there's nothing that pulls you out of that world. Like, you are suckered in.
Yeah.
Everything seems like realistic. People behave the way that you would expect people to behave. There isn't like, because there is this horror element in parts of it. There isn't the freaking person who does something utterly retarded that makes you go, why would anybody ever do that? Oh, let's go to the abandoned mine shaft together to kind of like it doesn't happen. Like, kids make mistakes, but that's because kids aren't their brains aren't fully developed, the logic isn't fully developed, they don't know kind of like there are unintended consequences for them. And I just think that's what it does so well, that so many other things have struggled in the past, that you are suckered in so much and you're not like pushed out by anything.
Yeah. There's a lot of there's a lot to it. Like in the first season, how Will's mum Joyce just doesn't sleep, and she's slowly getting crazier and crazier, and then she's putting up all the lights which signify like where in the Upside Down I think the Demogorgon is. I think so. Yeah, basically what it represents. And the fact that it can create its portals at will through, although that's never thoroughly explained, we just have to take it as what it is. So that's a bit that I don't know. I'm still a little confused about. But
yeah, well, I think with a lot of that regard is there's a not over milking the bad guy or over explaining what the bad guy can and cannot do, because then you limit yourself in the future. Like,
yes, yeah.
If you kind of say, he does this specific thing, that is what its powers are, you then get to the point maybe a season later when you want to do something slightly differently, and now you either have to write something crazy to make it happen, or you have to find a MacGuffin which enables it to happen, or so that's the real decent stories where you have like like a horror sort of, or a monster, is that it's not explained who or what they are to the fullest of extent, so you're still left guessing and wondering what it can and cannot do. So you never get to a situation where you go, I know they're safe because it can only do X, Y, Z. Or you go, I think they're safe because it can only do this, this, and this, but we don't really know. So you'll still have that moment where you're kind of feel that there could be a character that is in peril instead of going, well, actually, they're not in peril.
Yeah. There's so many aspects of Stranger Things that are just until the end of the series, nothing ever feels like it's resolved, which keeps the suspense going.
Yeah, it keeps you basically in both circumstances, both seasons. I've effectively watched all the episodes in like 2 days, so I effectively watched like 4 episodes a day.
Mm-hmm.
And in both times, that was almost like going to like 2 a.m. and going, I should go to sleep, but I really want to watch the next episode.
Yeah. It also it doesn't suffer from like the Marvel Defenders series' problems, where the content seems to be stretched out over more episodes than it needs.
Yeah,
as well.
I think when you find that, you can see that it's like 8 episodes and 9 episodes, so it's kind of they're not normal, like it's not a 6 or a 12 or a 13 or a 26 or that regard. So it means to be kind of like they've wrote a story and they filmed it and then they've cut it down to what they like, and then that's given a certain number of episodes.
Yeah, and that's certainly. It works. It tells the story at an appropriate pace. Nothing's rushed. Nothing's too slow. And then one of the things that caught me out watching like Beyond Stranger Things is that the girl that plays 11, Millie Bobby Brown, is so incredibly British, and I didn't know that. So when you hear her talk, she is so British, but that doesn't peek through in the show at all.
Yeah,
I guess it's because she has a limited vocabulary, but yeah.
No, it's one of those weird things. You can kind of, if you don't know who the actor or actresses are, then you can think that. That makes me think of Hugh Laurie in House. So I don't know if you heard the story about how Hugh Laurie actually got the role, but there was an open kind of casting thing that happened for it. And he went out, did his performance, and the director was like, that is this is the American acting that I want to hear, and then he turns out and spoke proper English afterwards, and he was just the director was just like, holy shit, you're English? And it's just he just we didn't pick it up at all from obviously the doing of the scene and everything. So it was just he was utterly amazed afterwards that I actually spoke the Queen's English, as you say.
Stranger Things 2, if anyone hasn't watched it, or just Stranger Things in general, I highly recommend checking it out. It's probably, I don't know, best TV show I've watched in a long time actually. But I've not
it's definitely up there.
Yeah.
It's definitely kind of it will be top 5. It was top 5 last year, and it'll be top 5 this year.
Yeah. I've also watched all the way through. What have I watched? I watched Iron Fist, then Defenders, and then the Punisher series. But we won't touch on those for now because I know you're not finished on Defenders, and then by extension Punisher as well, because that's the not chronological order that they came out, but in actual time, that's the order that it came out.
I managed to push through Iron Fist, so I'm working my way through Defenders now. So I'll get there at the end. We can have that discussion at a separate point. But yeah. So that's they're all right. And then what? Did you go and see Thor Ragnarok? I did. And
what did you make of it?
As far as I am concerned, it's the greatest superhero movie of all time.
Awesome. It is. It was a fantastic film, wasn't
it? It seemed to me that they took everything that had been done with the first 2 Thor movies and went, nope. Let's not make it dark, brooding. That's obviously the Thor. I don't know how well the Thor movies have sold, because they've obviously, don't know if they sold poorly or not, but they've decided to go in a completely different direction with it this time. They took things from Guardians of the Galaxy and spun it up to 11, to coin the Spinal
Yeah.
Tap phrase. Not the whole Guardian Galaxy vibe, but color, using content, music, like unoriginal music in that regard, which just perfectly worked with scenes. It's like, yeah, if you're gonna have a song about Valhalla, it's kind of like it works really quite well to be going in the Thor movie, but it just worked. It's I don't know what to say about kind of like some of the other movies, but you already knew all bar like two of the characters that are involved in this storyline, so you didn't need any explanation behind their character arcs. You knew exactly how most of these people were going to behave with each other. You had a couple of new characters, but other than that, it was just a fun romp.
Yes.
And it was just
yeah, it was very funny as well. Like, it was written funny to be funny, but it wasn't like funny at the point of any of the characters' expense other than the ones that were trying to be funny. So like, most of the humor was directed at Thor himself.
Yeah. So a bit of self-deprecation and then like laying it on. The same with Loki.
Which is a very like un-American way to handle humor as well. And considering it was directed by a New Zealander, like, it's not surprising. But yeah, it's really interesting that they allowed it to go in the direction of, say, I don't know, British humour does tend to be more self-deprecating, and then I guess New Zealand humour is along the same lines as well. Like Flight of the Conchords, they have some witty, self-depreciating humour. And then I guess Australian as well, if you look at like Tim Minchin. I'm trying to think of other comedians from those places. And there's a really tall Aussie bloke who's like really into his heavy metal. I can't remember his name for the life of me. But yeah, like, that style of comedy is refreshing to see in a big budget superhero action film. That are typically very, very serious. If you look at like Captain America: Winter Soldier, for example.
Well, yeah, I think if you were to look at all of the other Marvel films, effectively your comedy comes from Tony Stark, and pretty much Tony Stark alone. I think you get a little bit with Ant-Man, you get obviously a little bit now that you've got Spider-Man involved, but
yes,
humor generally doesn't come from any of the other characters. They're generally far more kind of have been portrayed as fairly serious characters in most regards. Obviously, there's a light-hearted moment here or there where you kind of see Hulk slam Loki back and forth. But then that was referenced again in this, when you see him kind of being so happy of Thor being smashed around by Hulk, going like, "Ha! That's how it feels!" And kind of like, which I was going like,
yeah,
that's a good callback. That's a good kind of like moment to kind of call back. And I felt like a genuine moment, which like that character would actually do, just kind of like seeing the exact same thing happen to him and go like, "Now, how do you like it now?"
Yeah. Oh man, I had something in my head about like, yeah, it's funny also how they like kind of I don't know, made fun of the Avengers film, the second one with Hulk in it as well, like Thor trying to passivate Hulk, like continually just making fun of like what was said in that film.
Yeah,
if you like look at it from that aspect. And yeah, overall it's a very, like, Thor Ragnarok's a very funny film. It's a very well put together film. It's colourful, it's eccentric, it has all these interesting characters. You've got Jeff Goldblum in there as well, who's playing this like
the most
Jeff
Goldblum character possible. It was just like,
yeah, exactly.
dial all of your most eccentric characters that you've ever done before, and to coin the phrase again, take it to 11, take it to the maximum, just kind of do everything you want to do with it. Kind of, I love the moment where kind of like he has the orb stick that turns someone to like gloop to kill them, and then they do a minor offense afterwards, and he gets given the orb stick, and he's like, whoa, come on, this is not an all mistake offense. It's kind of like it's just one of those random moments where you're just kind of like, well, he did just pretty much kill someone off the bat before, and this time he's like, whoa, let's calm down, people. I'm a reasonable guy. He felt, I felt him very much like Zaphod Beeblebrox. If you've ever read any of like the Hitchhiker books, I kind of felt I felt that was a very similar sort of character, a sort of role. I could see that being kind of, he just effectively has created his own world where he's God, and is just enjoying being at the top, and effectively all of his whims are being acted out in front of him, and he's just happy because he can do that.
Yeah, it's certainly, I don't know, that whole realm seemed to be very, very interesting. It was colourful. It was under his control, and the way it all turned around at the end as well was really interesting. But I don't really want to go into spoilers for that. But yeah, I had something in my head and I lost it as well. But that's okay. He did that. Then there was like funny quips throughout the film that just made me laugh. That's what I was going to say. So we went to see it on opening weekend here, which was a week after it came out in the UK, and we'd already heard good things about it. And when we went to the cinema, it was packed. Everyone was enjoying it. There was a lot of like out loud laughing as well, which is good. That was encouraging. I think the biggest laugh was like when Thor was having struggles, and he saw Odin, and Odin just told him, "You are not the god of hammers," and like that's like probably my favourite line. It made me laugh the most, just because it was like unexpected.
Yeah, it's just like but Mjolnir has disappeared. It's just like, you are not the god of hammers.
It's like such a brilliant line. Just like, yeah, I was always like, yes, I need my hammer to like be as strong as I can be. It's like, really, that's not it, is it? So, yeah, there's some, I don't know, interesting things about it. But yeah, going on from like,
well, going on from that, yes. What? Yeah. As of the day of recording,
yeah, the Avengers Infinity War trailer came out this morning, which is really exciting. Yes. I'm not one for watching trailers, but I figured that considering it's out so far in advance, it's coming out on May 4th, I believe.
Yeah, it's May sometime, I don't know.
Yeah, on Twitter it says May 4th, but I'm not sure whether that's like American or where else in the world.
Where in the world? Sorry.
Yeah, so that came out. I'm not too concerned about spoilers for it. We know who the bad guy is going to be. We know who roughly is going to be involved.
Yep.
I didn't see anyone that I wasn't expecting to see there.
No, so there's two. Like I'm generally with you. I try not to watch trailers before I go to see a movie because they may spoil things. I watched it because I was like, there's apps like I've watched the Star Wars one. It's like there's literally no chance of being on social media and getting to the movie without seeing some part of this or some other aspect of it. So I might as well watch it now because something or some meme will come out of it at some point, or some other thing will just have another video and I'll see parts of it. So I was just like, I'll watch it. The things that kind of one thing that surprised me is they showed basically everybody apart from Hawkeye and Ant-Man. So I was just like, okay, you showed every other major character apart from those two. So that was kind of like, that's interesting. Was that a mistake, or is that something that's going to be expanded on? And then, when you saw the one time you saw Thanos with his gauntlet, you saw that he already had the purple stone,
and he was putting
the blue stone into it. So it's kind of going, okay, that's interesting because as far as we know, Peter still has the purple stone from Guardians of the Galaxy, or where did they give it to the
they give it? Did he keep it? I can't remember now. I have to watch Guardians of the Galaxy 1 again. Did he keep it at the end?
Oh, I can't.
Or did he
remember.
give it to that civilization?
I can't remember.
But yeah, that's not in Thanos' hands, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. So
something
Thanos
has to
is
happen.
getting more powerful as the film will go on, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah, and it was quite funny that they kind of just the teaser at the end. One of the teasers at the end of Thor was actually, was it at the end of Thor, or you just saw it towards the end of the film? Was the fact that Loki may have taken the Tesseract, and then in the teaser trailer, it's just like Loki has the Tesseract, and then it was just like.
Yeah, I can't remember whether it was at the end of the film or like in the post-credits scenes.
I think it was when he goes to put Stephen. No, not Steppenwolf. That's the. That's the DC one. Whatever the big bad, when he goes to put the helmet in the fire at the end of the movie.
Okay, yeah.
You see him walk down the tunnel, and you see him stop and take a look at the Tesseract. So.
Yeah, it's implied that he might have taken
pockets it
but,
there. Yeah.
Given the trailer, it shows him with the Tesseract in hand.
Yeah.
It's kind of not a large leap to say that. Oh, I think Loki took the Tesseract.
Yeah.
From Asgard.
Yeah. And then the only other thing is obviously seeing the Winter Soldier and Captain America in Wakanda with the Black Panther. So obviously that's to come first, is it not?
Yeah, I think Black Panther comes out in February.
Yeah.
So I think that's the next big film coming out for them. And I'm looking forward to seeing Black Panther, actually. I didn't think I was, and then I saw the Infinity War trailer, and I'm just like, probably should give Black Panther a chance.
Oh, yeah. It's like a lot of these things, to be honest. I'll watch it. There's nothing's gonna... I would watch probably most of these films, even if they got bad reviews, because I'm probably far more to the target audience than most people are when it comes to comic books and in that regard.
Yeah. I don't know, like, I'm sure, like, they're going to be pretty... I don't know if they're going to be, like, strictly following the Infinity War comic books, but, like, I've never read the comic books, so for me, this is going to be a fresh story that might... Well, it's likely that this story's already been told, and they're just recounting it for...
Yeah. It's being reimagined differently in certain regards, but it is still the similar sort of premise. Now, there's probably tons of other little Easter eggs in that teaser trailer, which I haven't spotted as I've only watched it once, and but I'm not going to try and look into finding them because obviously, kind of, then that really does spoil a few things. And I think the one other thing that shocked me was seeing Scarlett Johansson with blonde hair instead of
the brown hair. We've come to know.
Well, the auburn sort of Black Widow-esque hair specifically from the comic books, but
I'm like interested to see how it comes out, but it's 6 months away, so we'll see. It'll probably be massive again, which is unsurprising.
Yes, it'll probably all be massive. It's very weird because this may turn into a small rant, but I am a massive DC comic fan, so my knowledge goes more into that genre, to that side of things than the Marvel side. I know I've read a reasonable amount on the Marvel side, but to be honest, like my kind of like favorite comic books in regards have been about like Green Lantern and Shazam, and it's kind of there on the DC side, so I know a lot more about that. And it feels, I know like the DC Movieverse have got it like completely wrong, that they've done, like, the first few films have been pretty bad. Like Wonder Woman was a great film. This Justice League movie is okay, and that's coming from somebody who kind of like actually like really enjoys a lot of this. It feels a bit disjointed because they've tried to basically say, oh look, here are all our big characters, where Avengers really went with like, here's 15 movies, now here's all our big characters together in one film. I think there's some perfect space like in between, but
kind of like, I think DC have tried to play the catch-up game too quickly, and are paying the consequences for it.
Yeah.
But if it felt really weird, like I saw the movie, I would say it's kind of like it's enjoyable enough that I don't think anybody would really come out of that movie disliking it. And then I went and looked at reviews, and I was like seeing like 1 stars, and I was going, okay, now that's really interesting. You've really torn this apart, and in a lot of the ways they've torn it apart, I can't really question why they've done it. They're maybe critiquing at a little higher level than probably what I am. But I then went and looked. I go like, okay, what did you give like Civil War? And then I see kind of like 4 stars, 5 stars for some of these people who've given that 1 star and gone like, here are your 2 criterias of what you said is good in this one and what you said is bad in this one. And it's like half of them match. So it's like you praise Civil War for doing this, yet you shat on Justice League for doing exactly the same. And it's like, I feel that it's already got to the point where it's basically okay to rag on the DC films, and so everybody's just gonna go, oh, it's shit, not even gonna give it a chance. Like, I'm gonna go in trying to find things that I don't like about it, and then I won't like it. Like, you go into it with like a negative view set, and then you find negative things. As I was saying earlier on, it's kind of like if you're looking to find shit, you will find shit. Like, I can go through like all of the Marvel movies and go like, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. And I can do exactly the same with all the DC movies, but that's not what. When I go watch a film, I kind of go, entertain me with what I have here. Basically, try and turn my mind off about anything that other people have said about this film, kind of coming up to it, but go like, this is a chance for the film to entertain me. Like, I saw it on the day after it came out with a couple of friends. I had completely forgotten all of the shit about Henry Cavill having his mustache CG'd out because he had to do some reshoots. And I did not notice it once because it was not in my mind to notice it at all. I went and watched it again a few days later with a couple of friends when that was in my mind. I couldn't not see it. I could not kind of go, yeah, that looks CG'd there, it's not CG'd there, it's CG'd there, it's not CG'd there. But like, once it was in my mind, I couldn't get rid of it, and that definitely detracted from the movie, like watching it the second time around, because then I was spotting mistakes. And it feels like the bagging on the film is just like, people then go into it basically going like, oh, let's find the reasons why this is shit.
Yeah, I think like, so the same thing has, I guess, happened for me when I watched Iron Fist. I didn't know anything about it, like, going into it. I didn't know what the reviews were like or anything, and I went through all of Iron Fist being like, yeah, this is alright, like, it's got the same pacing problems that I have with other Marvel TV shows, but overall I thought it was good. I thought it was well acted, and the story was interesting, but the action was mediocre. Could have been better because the cuts could have been longer on the action. So yeah, but overall I enjoyed like Iron Fist how it was, and then I looked at the reviews and I was just like, well, I didn't feel like that about any of it. So, or like the little points that I thought, oh, they're not too much of an issue as long as the whole thing is good. I thought the whole thing was good, but obviously other people did not think as much. So,
and I think that got the ragging on because it had before it came out, it had the whole issue of people talking about whitewashing. It had the whole other thing, and I think it gave the people the excuse to go like, we've been really nice about all of these things, let's just shit on one of them for once. It's always a good nice to kind of like to shit on something. Kind of like, you can't be a reviewer who gives everything 5 stars, because then you're not really reviewing, you're just saying nice things about everything. So
yeah, it's
an easy win to shit on Iron Fist. It's an easy win to shit on the Justice League movies. It's very interesting because like there was one. I read one article which really wound me up, which was like, here you see the Amazon in the Amazonians from the movie that was directed by women. You can see them wearing these kind of like proper armor. And here you see the movie which is directed by men, and they're wearing scantily clad leather. And I was going like, see, it's just movie directed by man is kind of like it's feminist. I was just going like, two things. One, you see them in the leather in the Wonder Woman movie because that's their training gear. Two, in the film, they get attacked while they're all in their training gear, so they don't have time to go put on the fucking armor to go and do the fight. So it's kind of like you take something completely and utterly out of context,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, you can create a hoo-ha, but it just means that like everybody's already got a negative mindset about that, so it's like let's shit on it. Like, I'm not saying it's a good movie. Like, I'm not saying that it's a great movie which has been bagged on and there's some fucking Marvel versus conspiracy against DC movies. It's kind of like, I don't really give a shit about that. I just think it's better than has been portrayed generally, like, in the media. But I think because there's a negative outset on it, people go in with a negative mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, I think that. Yeah, yeah, I'm very aware of that. Like, not letting other things bias your opinion. But yeah, that's the way things are at the moment anyway. Just not even related to entertainment, but that's a whole other issue. Anyway, so we're gonna wrap that episode of this podcast up here. Next week we will talk about Assassin's Creed, and yeah, Russell, where can we find you across the internet?
I am Russman2K across pretty much all gaming websites and related things, and at @Esom on Twitter.
Awesome. I can find across the internet at DestroyTopham or at Etherfar. Yeah, that's about it. This is the Easily Excitable podcast. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Russell, for being my guest this week.
Thank you very much for having me, good sir.
No problem. And thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.